Strait of Hormuz, International Transit Corridor, Bravo Zulu, 2:44 p.m. The environment is hostile in every conceivable metric. The air temperature reads 116 degrees Fahrenheit on the bridge wing thermometers, but the heat index, the feels-like temperature that accounts for the suffocating, wet blanket of humidity rising off the Persian Gulf, is pushing 135. It is a heat that warps vision, creating mirages where the horizon melts into the sky. It is a heat that makes steel too hot to touch without gloves. The water is a flat, oily sheet of turquoise, deceptively calm, hiding the treacherous currents that have wrecked ships here for 2,000 years. But today, the danger isn't the current, it isn't the heat, it is the silence. Cutting through this sweltering haze, moving at a deliberate, confident 16 knots, is the USS Spruance, DDG-111. She is an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, flight type away, 509 feet of American sovereignty. She is named after Admiral Raymond Spruance, the genius behind the victory at Midway. And like her namesake, she is quiet, calculating, and lethal. Her SPY-1DV radar panels, mounted on the superstructure like unblinking gray eyes, are pouring megawatts of electromagnetic energy into the atmosphere, tracking hundreds of contacts simultaneously, from commercial airliners cruising at 35,000 feet to seagulls skimming the waves. But the Spruance isn't the main event today. She is the bodyguard. The principal is the USNS Bob Hope, TAKR 300, a massive, hulking, medium-speed roll-on, roll-off LMSR vehicle cargo ship. She looks like a floating warehouse. She is ugly, slow, and unarmed. But her cargo holds are packed with critical equipment for the U.S. Army Central Command, M1A2 Abrams tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, and Patriot missile batteries. This convoy is a high-value movement. It is a logistical artery pumping muscle into the region. For the last 6 hours, the transit has been routine, boring, the kind of boredom sailors pray for. But at 2:44 p.m., the boredom died. Bridge combat. We have anomalous behavior on the surface search radar. Sector Sierra 3, range 8,000 yards. Commander James Hatchett, the commanding officer of the Spruance, didn't look up from his console. Define anomalous, TAO. Sir, contacts are coalescing. We had 40 individual fishing contacts. Now they are forming a line. They are closing the lane. Hatchett stepped onto the bridge wing. He raised his heavy, stabilized binoculars. Through the shimmering heat haze, he saw it. It wasn't a military fleet. It wasn't a formation of gray hulls and missile launchers. It was a gray zone nightmare. Stretching across the narrow, 2-mile-wide Deepwater Channel was a flotilla of chaos. 60 vessels. Wooden dhows with rusted engines, commercial tugboats, scavenged barges, high-speed pleasure craft, even a dredging ship. They were lashed together with steel cables and thick polypropylene fishing nets, creating a floating physical barrier. And weaving in and out of this civilian shield were the wolves. 25 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, Ashura-class speedboats. Small, fast, painted turquoise to vanish against the water. Each one manned by 3 zealots armed with RPG-7s, DSHK heavy machine guns, and shoulder-fired anti-air missiles. They weren't shooting, they were blocking. The radio on the Spruance crackled to life. American Warship 111, this is the Naval Authority of the Islamic Republic. The strait is closed for emergency environmental cleanup. A spill has been detected. You must reverse course immediately, or you will be detained for ecological crimes. Oh, sty, it was a lie. A brazen, calculated geopolitical lie. There was no spill. There was no cleanup. This was Operation Spiderweb. Tehran didn't want a shooting war. They knew they would lose that. They wanted a navigation kill. They wanted to force the massive USNS Bob Hope to stop, to turn around, to retreat. They wanted the visual of American power being halted by Iranian will. They wanted to humiliate the great Satan without firing a single missile. They believed that the U.S. Navy, bound by strict rules of engagement and a fear of collateral damage involving civilian boats, would hesitate. They thought the Americans would be paralyzed by the optics of firing on fishermen. The Iranian commander, General Esmail Khani, watching from a command bunker dug into the granite cliffs of Larak Island, smiled as he watched the radar blips merge. "The web is set," he whispered to his staff. "The fly has entered. Now we wrap them up." He was wrong. He had fundamentally misunderstood the psychology of the man commanding the USS Spruance. Commander Hatchett wasn't paralyzed. He was pissed off. He looked at the environmental cleanup ships deploying steel cables meant to foul his propellers. He looked at the IRGC gunboats hiding behind them. He picked up the 1MC microphone. His voice didn't waver. "All hands, General Quarters." "General Quarters? Set Condition 1. This is not a drill. Man the rails. Uncover the 25s. Spin up the birds. They want to block the road. Fine, we're going to clear the traffic." At 2:44 p.m., Iran attempted to interfere with U.S. naval movement. They thought they were setting a trap. In reality, they were walking into a shredder. 43 minutes later, the effort didn't just fall apart. It was systematically disassembled, piece by piece, until nothing remained but driftwood and regret. This is the story of the afternoon the IRGC brought a fishing net to a destroyer fight. Let's rewind 12 hours. Bandar Abbas, the Asymmetric Warfare Planning Center. 2 a.m. The room smelled of stale tea and cigarette smoke. General Connie stood before a digital map of the strait. The pressure from the Supreme Leader was intense. "Do something," the message had said. "Show the world we control the Gulf, but do not start a war you cannot finish." It was a paradox. How do you stop the U.S. Navy without fighting them? Connie had devised Operation Spiderweb. It relied on lawfare and gray zone tactics. "The Americans are weak," Connie lectured his officers. "Not in weapons, but in spirit. They are obsessed with lawyers. They are obsessed with proportionality. If we put civilians in their path, they will stop. If we claim an environmental hazard, they will hesitate." The plan was intricate. Phase 1, the swarm. Mobilize the Basij Maritime militia. Hundreds of small boats. Pay them to block the channel. Phase 2, the fouling. Use the tugboats to drag heavy steel cables and drift nets across the shipping lane. If the American ships try to push through, their propellers will tangle. They will be dead in the water. Phase 3, the boarding. Once the American ships are immobilized, the IRGC fast boats will rush in, not to sink them, but to assist them. They will board the Bob Hope, plant the Iranian flag, and claim they are rescuing the stranded vessel. It would be a propaganda coup of the century. American tanks captured at sea without a shot fired. They spent the night rigging the boats. They loaded the cables. They briefed the militia captains. "Do not fire first." The orders were strict. "Let the Americans panic. Let them stop. Then we own them." At 1 p.m., the fleet launched. They felt clever. They felt superior. They believed they had found the loophole in American naval power. But Iran made 3 catastrophic mistakes. First, they underestimated the sensor suite of the USS Spruance. General Connie assumed that a steel cable trailing underwater was invisible. He didn't know that the Spruance was operating with the AN/SQQ-89A V-15 anti-submarine warfare system. This system doesn't just listen for submarines. It can detect anomalous density in the water column. It can hear the specific vibration of a steel cable dragging along the seabed. The Spruance knew about the nets before they were even deployed. The sonar operators had been tracking the tugboat's weird movement patterns for an hour. They weren't surprised. They were waiting. Second, they ignored the eye in the sky. The Iranians thought they were hiding their military speedboats behind the civilian dhows. They relied on radar shadowing, using the larger wooden boats to hide the radar signature of the smaller fiberglass attack craft. They forgot about the MQ-4C Triton. Cruising at 50,000 feet, invisible to the Iranian coastal radar, the massive U.S. Navy drone was looking down with multispectral electro-optical sensors. It saw everything. It saw the heat signatures of the heavy machine guns under the tarps. It saw the RPGs stacked on the decks. It saw the IRGC markings on the uniforms of the fishermen. The data wasn't just being recorded, it was being streamed in real time to the Combat Information Center of the Spruance. Commander Hatchett wasn't looking at a cluster of fishing boats. He was looking at a targeted grid of hostile combatants. He knew exactly which boat was civilian and which was a killer. Third, and this was the mistake that would turn a blockade into a graveyard, they miscalculated the right of self-defense. The Iranians believed that blocking passage was a non-lethal act. They didn't read the U.S. Navy's Standing Rules of Engagement, SROE, regarding navigational hazards. The SROE is clear. Any attempt to foul the screws or rudder of a U.S. warship is considered a mobility kill attempt. A mobility kill is a hostile act. It authorizes the use of deadly force to clear the threat. Attempting to tangle the propeller of a destroyer isn't a protest. In the eyes of the U.S. Navy, it is the same as firing a torpedo. It is an attempt to disable the ship. And the response to a disabling attack is not a sternly worded letter. It is 25 milliliter high explosive incendiary rounds. General Connie thought he was setting a traffic jam. He didn't realize he was pulling the pin on a grenade. Strait of Hormuz. 2:48 p.m. The distance closes. 4,000 yards. The Spiderweb is fully formed. The line of Iranian boats is thick, chaotic, and menacing. Through the binoculars, the crew on the Spruance can see the steel cables dipping into the water between the tugboats. They can see the nets drifting in the current, waiting to snare the giant brass propellers of the American ships. On the bridge, the tension is a physical weight, heavier than the heat. "Captain, they are hailing us again," the officer of the deck says. "They are demanding we stop engines immediately." Commander Hatchett picks up the radio handset. He switches to the International Distress Frequency, channel 16. His voice is calm. It is the voice of a man who knows exactly what is about to happen. Iranian vessels, this is United States Warship 111. We are engaged in innocent passage in accordance with international law. Your actions constitute a hazard to navigation and a hostile act. Break your formation and clear the lane immediately. If you do not move, you will be moved. This is your final warning. The response is a cacophony of shouting in Farsi and broken English. You cannot pass. The sea is closed. We will stop you. Then the first physical move. 3 large tugboats, dragging a massive reinforced steel net between them, detach from the line. They accelerate toward the bow of the Spruance. They are trying to clothesline the destroyer. They are committing, Hatchett says. TAO authorized non-lethal measures. Peel them back. 2:50 p.m., the acoustic war. LRAD active. Max power. Tone beam. The long-range acoustic device on the starboard bridge wing swivels. It looks like a flat gray satellite dish. It isn't a speaker. It is a sonic cannon. The operator aims it at the pilot house of the lead tugboat. He flips the switch. A tight beam of 153 decibel sound hits the tug. To the men inside, it feels like an ice pick being driven into their eardrums. It disorients the inner ear fluid. It causes instant, debilitating nausea and vertigo. The tugboat captain collapses over the wheel. The boat veers wildly to the left, crossing the cables. Target 1 effect confirmed, shifting to target 2. The LRAD sweeps across the formation. Chaos erupts on the Iranian line. Boats collide. Men are seen jumping overboard to escape the sound. The Spiderweb begins to tear. But General Connie, watching the feed, screams into his radio, "Do not retreat. Push forward. Use the speedboats. Attack!" The pretense of civilian cleanup vanishes. The 25 Ashura fast attack craft drop their camouflage. The tarps come off the heavy machine guns. They surge forward, engines screaming, weaving through the disorganized tugboats. They are charging the Spruance. "Vampire! Vampire! RPG visual!" A puff of smoke from the lead speedboat. A rocket-propelled grenade streaks across the water. It falls short, splashing 100 yards from the hull. But the intent is clear. Commander Hatchett doesn't blink. Hostile fire confirmed. Non-lethal failed. Batteries release, clear the surface. Weapons free. 2:52 p.m. The chain guns speak. The USS Spruance carries 2 Mk-38 Mod 3 25mm machine gun systems. These are the perfect weapons for this fight. They are stabilized. They use optical and infrared targeting. They don't miss. Track 1001. Lead hostile. Range 800 yards. The gunner in the remote operation console inside the ship squeezes the trigger. The sound is a slow, rhythmic pounding that vibrates through the deck plates. The 25mm high explosive incendiary, HEI rounds fly true. The first burst hits the lead Ashura boat. It doesn't just poke holes, it disassembles the boat. The fiberglass hull shatters. The fuel tank ignites. The boat cartwheels into a fireball of orange flame and black smoke. Target destroyed. Shifting right. Track 102. The second boat vanishes. The swarm tactic relies on overwhelming the enemy with too many targets to track. But the Aegis system can track everything, and the Mk-38 guns can switch targets in seconds. It becomes a rhythm. Acquire, fire, destroy, shift. Within 2 minutes, 6 Iranian speedboats are burning wrecks. The others try to scatter, trying to hide behind the civilian tugs again. But the Spruance gunners are surgical. They hold fire when a civilian boat masks the target. They wait for the speedboat to pop out, shifting to target 2. The LRAD sweeps across the formation. Chaos erupts on the Iranian line. Boats collide. Men are seen jumping overboard to escape the sound. The Spiderweb begins to tear. But General Connie, watching the feed, screams into his radio, "Do not retreat. Push forward. Use the speedboats. Attack." The pretense of civilian cleanup vanishes. The 25 Ashura fast attack craft drop their camouflage. The tarps come off the heavy machine guns. They surge forward, engines screaming, weaving through the disorganized tugboats. They are charging the Spruance. "Vampire! Vampire! RPG visual." A puff of smoke from the lead speedboat. A rocket-propelled grenade streaks across the water. It falls short, splashing 100 yards from the hull. But the intent is clear. Commander Hatchett doesn't blink. Hostile fire confirmed. Non-lethal failed. Batteries release, clear the surface. Weapons free. 2:52 p.m. The chain guns speak. The USS Spruance carries 2 Mk-38 Mod 3 25mm machine gun systems. These are the perfect weapons for this fight. They are stabilized. They use optical and infrared targeting. They don't miss. Track 1001. Lead hostile. Range 800 yards. The gunner in the remote operation console inside the ship squeezes the trigger. The sound is a slow, rhythmic pounding that vibrates through the deck plates. The 25mm high explosive incendiary, HEI rounds fly true. The first burst hits the lead Ashura boat. It doesn't just poke holes, it disassembles the boat. The fiberglass hull shatters. The fuel tank ignites. The boat cartwheels into a fireball of orange flame and black smoke. Target destroyed. Shifting right. Track 1002. The second boat vanishes. The swarm tactic relies on overwhelming the enemy with too many targets to track. But the Aegis system can track everything, and the Mk-38 guns can switch targets in seconds. It becomes a rhythm. Acquire, fire, destroy, shift. Within 2 minutes, 6 Iranian speedboats are burning wrecks. The others try to scatter, trying to hide behind the civilian tugs again, but the Spruance gunners are surgical. They hold fire when a civilian boat masks the target. They wait for the speedboat to pop out. Then they kill it. 2:55 p.m. The threat from above. While the Spruance dismantles the surface threat, a new danger appears. Bridge, combat, air contacts, multiple rotary wing coming off Larak Island. 4 Iranian Bell 214 helicopters. They are old, but they are armed. They are carrying anti-ship missiles. They are popping up over the ridgeline, trying to get a firing solution on the defenseless Bob Hope. They're going for the cargo ship, Hatchet realizes. They know they can't sink us, so they're going to burn the Army's tanks. He can't use the 5-inch gun for this. It's too slow. Spin up the Vipers and clear the aft cells. But before the Spruance can fire a missile, the U.S. Marine Corps checks in. The USNS Bob Hope isn't as defenseless as the Iranians thought. Hidden on the massive flight deck, amidst the tanks and trucks, is a detachment from the Marine Light Attack Helicopter Squadron 369, 2 AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters. They had been sitting silent, rotors folded under camouflage netting. Now, the nets are gone. The rotors are spinning. Spruance, this is Gunfighter 1-1. We are lifting off. We see the air threat. We have the ball. The Vipers rise from the deck of the cargo ship like angry wasps. They are air-to-air predators today. They carry AM-9M Sidewinder missiles on their wingtips. The Iranian helicopter pilots don't even have radar warning receivers. They don't know the Marines are there. Gunfighter 1-1, Fox 2. A smoke trail leaves the Viper's rail. The missile snakes through the air, seeking the heat of the Iranian helicopter's exhaust. The lead Iranian helicopter explodes in midair. The rotor blades fly off. The fuselage drops like a stone. The second Iranian pilot sees his wingman die. He panics. He tries to dive. The second Viper engages with its 20mm rotary cannon. A stream of tracers saws through the tail boom of the Iranian chopper. It spins wildly, crashing into the water. The remaining 2 helicopters realize this is a death trap. They turn tail and run back to the island, flying so low their skids touch the waves. Air threat neutralized, the Marine pilot drawled, going hunting for boats. Strait of Hormuz, 3:05 p.m. The battle has been raging for 21 minutes. The Spiderweb is shredded. The civilian tugs and dhows have fled, scattering in every direction to escape the LRADs and the gunfire. The Iranian fast attack fleet has lost 10 boats. The survivors are trying to regroup near the Larak Island coastline, hoping the rocky cliffs will protect them from the Spruance's radar. But Commander Hatchet isn't done. The net, the physical steel cable net, is still drifting in the channel. It is directly in the path of the Bob Hope. If the massive cargo ship hits it, the cables will wrap around its 30-foot propeller. The ship will be dead in the water, a sitting duck for shore-based missiles. We have to clear that net, Hatchet says. We can't go around it. The channel is too narrow. Captain, we can't send a boat team. Too dangerous. I know. Call the Cyclone. Operating 5 miles ahead, running silent and low, was the USS Thunderbolt, PC-12. A coastal patrol ship, small, agile, and tough. Thunderbolt, this is Spruance. I have a fouling hazard in the lane. Grid Bravo 6. Need you to clear it. A copy, Spruance. We are on it. Deploying the sled. The Thunderbolt races into the scene. It deploys a specialized toad cutter, a device that looks like a torpedo with serrated titanium teeth. It is designed to cut minesweep wires. The Thunderbolt drags the cutter through the center of the Iranian net. The titanium teeth bite into the steel cables. The tension releases. The net falls apart, drifting harmlessly to the bottom of the Gulf. Lane is clear, Spruance. You are green to proceed. 3:15 p.m. The shore battery. General Connie is watching his operation disintegrate. His boats are burning. His helicopters are down. His net is cut. He is furious. They will not pass, he screams. Activate the Nor batteries. Sink the cargo ship. Hidden in the caves of Larak Island, the doors open. Mobile missile launchers drive out. They elevate their rails. They lock onto the USNS Bob Hope. It is a massive target, hard to miss. Radar lock, vampire, land-based launch. The TAO on the Spruance screams the warning. 2 Nor anti-ship cruise missiles streak from the coast. This is the escalation point. Commander Hatchet has one job. Don't let the Army's tanks get wet. Auto Special, ESSM, take them. The forward VLS cells on the Spruance pop open. 2 evolved Sea Sparrow missiles roar into the sky. They are hypermaneuverable kinetic interceptors. The engagement is short. 1 mile from the ship, the American missiles meet the Iranian missiles. 2 orange fireballs blossom in the sky. Debris rains down. The Bob Hope is untouched. But Hatchet knows the rule. If they shoot from the land, you take out the land. WEPS, locate the source. Counter battery. Source identified. Grid Sierra Delta, Larak Island, cliffside. Do we have a clean shot? Negative, sir. They are tucking back into the caves. We need an angle. Fine. Call the Ohio. 3:20 p.m. The sledgehammer. Deep beneath the surface, the USS Florida, SSGN 728, has been monitoring the fight. Spruance, this is Florida. We have the solution. We have the angle. Florida, you are cleared to engage. Neutralize the battery. Copy. Rifle. The submarine doesn't launch a massive Tomahawk. That would be overkill and take too long. It launches a tactical Tomahawk, Block V. It is capable of loitering and redirecting. The missile breaks the water. Its booster ignites. It stays low, skimming the waves. It flies around the side of the island, banking hard. It sees the cave mouth. It sees the Iranian missile truck trying to back into the shadows. The Tomahawk's camera sends the final image back to the sub. Terminal. The missile flies directly into the cave. The explosion is contained within the mountain. The shockwave blows the blast doors off the hinges. The ammunition truck inside detonates. A plume of smoke shoots out of the cave entrance like a cannon. The shore battery is silenced. 3:27 p.m. The cleanup. The battle is effectively over. The Iranian forces are routed. The Spruance and the Bob Hope continue their forward momentum. The Spiderweb is nothing but floating debris. The Iranian speedboats are fleeing back to their harbors. Commander Hatchet orders check fire. Do not engage retreating forces. We made our point. The ships sail past the burning wreckage of the Ashura boats. Survivors are in the water, waving for help. Hatchet signals the Iranian Coast Guard on Channel 16. Iranian authorities, this is U.S. Warship 111. We have neutralized a threat in the strait. You have personnel in the water at Grid Bravo Zulu. You are authorized to retrieve them. We will not fire. It is the ultimate power move. Defeating the enemy, then telling them where to pick up their wounded.